Okay, before we get started, if you have a question and wish us to unmute your phone, please click on the raise hand feature, and we will try to get you as quickly as we can. There will be a question and answer period at the end. Like I said, with the number of participants we have today, please bear with us. We'll try to get to folks as quickly as we can. I think at this point, I will turn the presentation over to Brandon Piper. And again, if you have a question during the presentation, probably the easiest way to get that question taken care of is to enter it into the question feature of the webinar. And that way we can see it and we'll get to it as quickly as we can. And with that, I will turn things over to Brandon Piper.
Thank you, John. Go to the next slide. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As John mentioned, my name is Brandon Piper. I'm the administrator for the Division of Industry Services. I've been involved with this project since the beginning and look forward to this opportunity to show all of you our latest release. You see on the screen here, we just have an overview of what we plan on going over today. A little bit of eSLA background, a little history, introduction to Salesforce, the demo, questions and answers, and where you can go to reach and kind of practice some of this. So go to the next slide. I want to start out with just a kind of a quick recent history about the documentation plan reviews for the state of Wisconsin. In the early 90s, the Department of Industry, Labor, and Human Relations, DILR, for those of you who are familiar, decided their system for documentation needed to be updated. So work began on a new system. As most things in government, this took some time. So in 1994, regulated objects was introduced. I've heard some stories from those who were around for the initial rollout, and it sounds like for the first couple of years, things were pretty rough. Kind of a nonstop process of improvement, redesign. Eventually, through kind of this ceaseless tweaking, it became a functional, though somewhat cumbersome program. Now fast forward 25 years, and the Department of Safety and Professional Services is still using regulated objects, but the limitations are evident. Some of the questions were being asked from our legislature, some of the industry associations, requests for reporting, we just don't have the functionality or the ability to provide. I mean, imagine using any electronic device from 25 years ago, a computer or a cell phone. I mean, it's just archaic to our current expectations. And regulated objects was no different. This increasing obsolescence combined with the fact that it was a program that had to live on a retired version of Windows that Microsoft would no longer support without a very expensive individual contract, led DSPS to seek a new solution to our documentation issue. In May of 2018, development began on eSLA, the Electronic Safety and Licensing Application. The first program areas were released in October of that year, and 13 others have been released since. As we learn from regulated objects, tweaking is required to improve functionality of any program. And we've done our share of tweaking to eSLA in preparation for this, the most current launch. We'll continue after this launch, and just our department is committed to finding the best way to serve you. So if something's not right, we're doing our best to fix it. It's human nature to fear a change, and we realize what you're asking you is to embrace a process that looks and feels significantly different from what you're used to, which is why we put together this webinar to provide some background and some justification, and a little bit a demonstration to introduce you to the new system and hopefully diminish some of that fear we all feel when we encounter something new. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, I've been part of the development on this since the beginning, and we've, as a team, tried to move through this development with this statement in mind. This is our project mission statement, and the mission of the eSLA project is to help DSPS make it easier to do business in Wisconsin, and protect its citizens by designing and implementing an innovative and customer-centered solution. So we try to kind of go back to this at all of our development sessions and in all of our testing. So if it doesn't fit within this, general parameter, we try to get it to that point. Next slide, please. I believe I touched on most of this a few slides ago, but if I could mention a few things that may hit home with some of you. We live in an era of do more with less. This department, and in particular this division, have been significantly downsized in the last 10 years. To accommodate this reduction in staff and the increased demand on the services we provide, we've had to find ways to operate more efficiently. This includes automating as many processes as we're able. We feel this automation has the added benefit of empowering the public to acquire information on their own without having to wait for any staff assistance. You're able to go in there and get it yourself. I think it's better for everyone. This release of eSLA has a robust public lookup feature. We feel like it's going to save countless hours for our own staff and for you, the citizens of Wisconsin. Go to the next slide, please. For this launch, we've really tried to focus on these three areas. Submitting of applications. When I submit for a plan review, a permit, eventually, as we get more and more into eSLA, credential applications, they'll all be within the system. We want to be able to pay for applications using a credit or debit card, banking information. This is kind of just the wave of the future, a paperless a process. And schedule consultations, the ability to attach multiple documents. Previously the walk-in was kind of the standard as far as consultations. Unfortunately, that worked great for the folks who live close to an office, but as much as we may try, most of the state does not. So in an effort to have that equitable offering of our services, we feel like electronic is the way to go with this. This means that anyone in the state can get a hold of any discipline of plan reviewer for a consultation simply by scheduling with us. So we're no longer hampered by geographical limitations. Review and take action. We want to view in progress and completed applications. So if you submitted something, you want to check its status, you're able to do that. Perform service requests on permits, plan reviews such as changing an address, major minor revisions. These are little tweaks that happen inevitably in all projects. Something changes on this plan that you've already submitted, you got to get in there, you got to make some changes. So we're able to provide that option. Update business personal contact information, it goes without saying, and add associates and affiliations. These people you do business with, people you do business on behalf of. You're able to associate yourself to them and do business for them. And just as I mentioned, the search functionality, some of this we used to actually charge for because it was so time intensive to staff, but with eSLA, it's all available for free to the customer. Utilize an enhanced public lookup to view individuals, business credentials, and DSPS approved products. Easily search, find important information from the DSPS database by entering available values, and you're able to download those search results. So this, again, the public lookup function on this is much more robust than it had been in the past. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, this is a list of programs that have been released in eSLA since our initial October 2018 debut. Some of you may have already interacted with eSLA and some of your other dealings with the department, but we hope that this latest release will show you some of the improvements we've been striving towards, ease of customer use. So without delay, I will turn it over to Vanna, who will be conducting our demonstration. Vanna?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brandon. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and I will be going over a demonstration of the eSLA portal today. Our focus for today's demo is really going to be navigating to the portal and submitting an application, as well as paying for the fees. Then I'll also show you where you can find that search functionality that Brandon just mentioned, and where you can find a record of the applications that you've submitted in the eSLA portal. So just one moment, please, while I get my screen started. All right. All right, now everyone should be able to see this is the State of Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services web page. As you can see here, if there are any alerts or important information, they will be shown as banners here. Here's a one, for example. And so in order to get to the eSLA portal, I'm going to scroll down on this page. And as you can see, there's a link here, eSLA.wisconsin.gov. I'll go ahead and click that link. And then the eSLA customer portal opens in a new window. Once again, if there are any important banners, any important information, they will be shown here as a banner. And I also want to point out that when you're using the customer portal, it's best to use Google Chrome. Google Chrome is going to give you the best experience in this portal. Other browsers, you may have some issues. So if you are having an issue and you're using a browser other than Chrome, please go ahead and switch over to Google Chrome, and that should resolve your issues. So on this web page, as you can see, we do have a few things. I'm going to scroll down a bit. You have some options for creating an account. If you have done work with the department previously, you can click this DSPS customer button, and that will allow you to create an account and link some of your current information. And if you have not yet conducted any business with the department, you can click the new DSPS customer button, and that will allow you to enter in your information and create a new account. If you do need any assistance with creating your accounts, you can just scroll down a little bit more to the page, and you'll see here that there are some instructions for if you're a first-time eSLA user. And then once you do get your account set up, there's instructions on adding a business account. And there's also at least one video. I think there are a couple of other videos available. Here's another one that you can view that will really walk you through the process. And then once you've created your account and you have an email and a password, you can go ahead and log in to the system just by entering in your credentials here. And if you ever forget your password or forget your email address, you can click this forgot password or forgot email address link, and that will direct you to a window where you can enter your information in and retrieve that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and quickly switch over so that we can see what the portal looks like. I'm going to log in. All right. And as you can see here, when I log in, the first screen I come to is my eSLA dashboard. So I will also want to direct your attention to some of these links up at the top here. We have the dashboard link. If we're ever somewhere else in the site and we want to get back to our dashboard, we can just click this dashboard link and it'll take us back here. We also have the inspector lookup link, and we can come here to do an inspector lookup and do a search. And we also have the public lookup link. And then when we click this, we can do a public lookup search. All right, I'm going to navigate back to my dashboard. All right, and as you can see here, you can see the information about applications that you've submitted. As you can see here, I don't have any plan review applications that have been fully submitted yet, so this section is blank, but I'll show you after we do submit an application what it looks like. And if you've started an application but haven't yet finished it, it will show under the new plan review applications section of the page. So now let's go ahead and submit an example application so that you can see what that functionality looks like. So from my dashboard, I will click New Application, this button right here, and the screen will refresh and take me to the application selection area where I can select my area. For today's example, we're going to be submitting a plan review application. You can see the next drop down is for selecting the program area. And for this example, we'll submit a commercial buildings for the commercial buildings program area. Then we select our permit type and plan review. For this example, we'll select commercial building only. Once again, we'll select the plan review application type. And as you can see here, our next dropdown is to please select an account. Now, I do have a business account that I set up on my profile already. If you clicked this drop down and there were nothing there, you can click this create new account link, and that will allow you to create a new business account. You can also access the option to create a new business account by hovering over your username up at the top, or your name up at the top. And that will take you to the section where you can manage your business, an organization. You can add a new business from here. You can update the information for a business from here. And then you also have options for managing your profile if you need to make any changes there. All right. After you've selected your business account, you will select your county. And for this, for this example, I'm going to select Brown County and the city of Green Bay. Now you can see here there are some eligibility questions. And these eligibility questions, as with some of the other questions that will appear in this application, will change based on the information that you are submitting previously. So if you noticed up above, based on the selections that I made earlier, I had different options for proceeding selections. So make sure to read all of these questions and all of the instructions when you're submitting an application. It will give you important information. And for this example, I'm going to select no for all of these questions. Now you can see that there are application instructions that appear, and these will change once again based on what you're entering in the application. For example, if I were to have selected the elevators and conveyances program area, these application instructions would be related to elevators and conveyances instead of commercial buildings. So please make sure that you are reading all of this information. You can feel free to take a look at it on the site, but I'm going to go ahead and save and continue. Now also, you may receive some pop-ups as you're going through your application. This is one for example. Just please make sure that you are reading all of this information. This is related to a delegated municipality. And if there is a link in the pop-up, you can always click the link to view more information. I will go ahead and continue with this application. All right. So now you have the option to link your application to an existing building or plan review. And if you have that number, you can enter it here. You can enter in the plan review or eSLA number here and do a search, and then the relevant search results will display and you can select from there. You also have the option to submit a standalone application, which is what we'll be doing for today's example. And to do that, you can just click continue. All right. So now that I've continued on to the next screen, I reach my new application screen. As you can see, it reminds me of the application type I selected, which was commercial building only. And in this personal information section, this is just the personal information that is in my profile. So if I needed to update any of this information, I could go up and hover over my name and click that Manage Profile link to update this information. Now you can see we come to the mailing address and public address section. Since I have already entered in an application, the system has saved my previous addresses that I used for previous applications. I can select, use one of these addresses for this application by just clicking the checkbox next to the application. If I wanted to remove this address from my profile, I could click the trash can to do that. I'm going to go ahead and add a new address so that we can see the functionality of adding a new address. And I do have a couple of notes for that. So I click the new address button. And I do need to remember to click the use this address as mailing checkbox. Now I will go ahead and enter my street address. And as you can see, if I have already been submitting applications, my browser will have remembered some of these addresses. If I want to get out of this, I just press the escape key. And then I'll go ahead and enter in my address. All right, now I'm going to click Save. And there is a geo-validation here, which means that if this address, I just selected a random address for this example, but if this were a real address and it were slightly off, or I had entered, for example, 999 Broadway and the address was actually 999 East Broadway Road, there would be a couple of options here, and the one that was geo-validated would have a green check mark here. But you do have the option to just select the option that you entered in. So I'm going to do that here. Now that I've entered my mailing address, you can see it says address saved successfully. And if I scroll down to the public address section, you can see that this address that I just entered has been saved. So I can now click the checkbox if I want to use the same address for my public address as my mailing address, or I can add a new address for my public address and have different addresses for each. For this example, we're going to go ahead and select the same address for both mailing and public. As you can see, once again, it says address saved successfully after I click that checkbox. And now I will save and continue. Now we come to the questions section. These questions will be different depending on the type of application you're submitting, once again. And just please read any instructions that are here and answer the questions. For this question section, you do need to enter in information in each field and make sure that you make a selection for each radio button. And if you skip something, then when you go to submit the application, the system will tell you, it will have a red exclamation point on the area that you haven't filled in, and you will need to fill in all the required fields before you can submit your application.
Ivana?
Yes.
This is John. I wanted to just break in. We've had a couple of questions with regards to the address entering section, and I thought I would try to bring those up now. One of the questions was, is the address for the business that you're entering, is the address for the business you are entering the application for And is this for the building or the mailing address? Can you make a little distinction between those?
I think Brandon might actually be the best person to make that distinction if he's still on the line.
Yes, I'm here. The address you're entering initially is for the project. The other addresses are for designer and owner.
There's also a distinction for that public address being the address for the public lookup. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the one that is subject to open records requests. The private address is not.
Thank you for answering that question, Brandon. Did we have any other questions so far, John, that you wanted to call out?
Nothing. Let's see here. What if the building is on a new site that does not have an address as of yet?
Should be using the best description possible, and then that can be updated later.
Okay, awesome. And I'll show you when we go to create the building where you can enter in that information for the building. I do want to also call out in this question section, there is an area where you can add any comments for the plan review application for the staff to review. If you have comments here, you can enter them in. If you don't, please enter NA. This is a field that you will need to enter something in order to submit the application. So you can just enter NA if you don't have anything. All right, and now I will save and continue. All right, now I come to the project and site section where I can enter in my affiliation information, project and site information, and building details. So I'm going to go in order. First, I will add an affiliation here. And also note that there are instructions. So here it does tell me that an owner and designer are required. And if one or more buildings will exceed 50,000 cubic feet in total volume, a supervising professional is required. So let me go ahead and add in an individual. Here I have the option to also search by email. I did want to call out that for the search by email, there's some Chrome browser functionality that can sometimes make it a bit tricky. For example, you see that when I click into here, my browser has remembered a lot of the emails that I've entered in previously. If I do want to search using one of these emails, I can just click it from my browser, or I can enter it in manually. But if I'm clicking it from my browser, I do want to delete the last letter. So instead of .com, it's just .co. And then in order to get rid of these additional browser results, I'm just going to click escape on my keyboard, and then I can see the results from the customer portal. So I will go ahead and select one of those for this example. And then once you do select someone from search, if you're using the search functionality, you still need to designate the type of affiliation and confirm that their information is correct. All right. Now I'm going to save. And then for my designer, I will show you how to create the affiliation without searching by email. So if you want to just create someone from scratch, or you know that they're not in the system, you can click this checkbox. And as you can see, these fields display. I'm going to designate this person as the designer, and then I'm going to enter in their name. This, you'll notice here also that any required fields have an asterisk in this section. The company is not a required field, so I'm not going to enter it right now. And then we enter in a phone number. Then we'll enter in the street address. And then we can save this information. All right, so we have our owner and our designer here. If our building were exceeding 50,000 cubic feet, we would need to add in our supervising professional. But for this example, I'm going to continue on. Now I'm coming to my project and site information. If I wanted to search for an existing site, I could do that. And I would need to enter a minimum of 6 characters to search for that. And if I wanted to create a new site, which I'll do for this example, I'll just click this Create a New Site checkbox. And now I can enter in my project or site name. And then I will enter in my street location. Then we have the location city and the zip code. And the county. And our municipality. And Brandon, I don't know if you wanted to speak to the address in this section as well. I know that sometimes questions come up about the project and site name field versus the location, street and number. We can speak to that later if there are any.
Hey, Brandon, this is Lucas too. I'm on. I guess you guys had some questions.
Okay. I think I got this one, but they may come up later. On this one, the project site name is basically what you would refer to it as within your company, just so it's recognizable to you. Location, number, street address of the project is, if available, the actual address. If it's not, like I said previously, best possible description, you can change that later.
Great, thank you. All right, now I'll go ahead and save this information. All right, and as you can see, my project and site information has been saved. Now I'll enter my unique building. So I'm going to click this Add Unique Building button. And as you can see, I am directed to the Unique Buildings site. And I can click Add New Building. Now I'm not going to go through every question here, but I do want to show you the beginning of this section. Here we have our plan review application information that we submitted earlier in our application. I'm going to save and continue. And then in the building information section, I can click the Add Building button. If I wanted to search for a building by name, I could use the search box once again, or I can click Create a New Building to just create the new building. If I have a name, a specific name of the building, I can enter that. For this example, I'm just going to enter the address. If I'm aware of a previous tenant, I can enter them here. If I don't have one, then I can just enter NA. And then as you can see here, you need to enter the location, street, city, zip, or GPS nearest intersection. All right, and then I will save that information. All right, it's been saved, and as you can see, I can edit it by clicking the pencil icon, remove it by clicking the trash can, or add another identical building. I'm just going to enter one for this example, and then I'll save and continue. Now I reach the question section. I'm not going to go through every question right now for the sake of time, but I will scroll and show you that there are multiple questions, and all of these do need to be answered in order to continue with the application. So please make sure that you are entering something in here. And also, depending on the type of plan review application you're submitting, different questions will show up here. There may be additional questions or slightly different questions. I do also want to call out this question here. Will the total building volume exceed 50,000 cubic feet? You may remember that in the affiliation section, if the answer to this question was yes, then we would need to also have a design or a supervising professional. And if I select the yes to that question in this section, as you can see, I will need to provide the Design Professionals Wisconsin license number and the expiration date, as well as the Supervising Professionals Wisconsin number and their expiration date. And if I select no for this question, I can continue on to enter or to finish my application. All right. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to pick up an application that you've started. Just to quickly finish this out, once I finished entering all of my questions, I would click Save and Continue, and then I would be directed to the Review and Submit section, where I could submit to or use an electronic signature, and then go ahead and submit the building. Once I submit the building, I will receive an email confirmation that the building has been submitted. And then I can continue on with my application. So I'm going to head back to my dashboard. I just click the dashboard link. Now I'll scroll down a bit. As you can see here in the new plan review application section, I previously had one plan review application, this one. Now I have two. I have the one that I had previously started yesterday, and I have the one that I just started today. So both of these. I'm going to go ahead and pick up this application. And as you can see, when I click options, I can edit the application, I can download the application, and I can also withdraw the application. So I'm going to go ahead and edit my application. And once I click edit, you can see that I come to the beginning of the application. Now, I can go through and validate all of this information and click Save and Continue to move through the application. Or if I'm comfortable with what I entered previously, I can use the chevrons to jump to the next section. I do also just want to quickly come to this. As you can see, this is the project and site section of my application. I previously submitted a building here. And when I click Add Unique Building, you can see that the building that I submitted is here in this Unique Building section. And it's in the submitted status. I just wanted to quickly show that. Now, I'm going to skip forward to the attachments section. And as you can see here, we have different attachments that are required for this application. This particular application requires 3 attachments. First, the signature page. If I click this link, I can access this signature page that I can print or download and fill out, and then re-upload to my application. As you can see here, I have already uploaded this third-party signatures attachment. So let me go ahead and upload my other attachments. To do that, I'm just going to click the Add Attachment button. Then I will click on this folder, and I will go ahead and enter in or select whatever attachments I need to from my computer. And then I'll go ahead and click Upload. All right. And as you can see, the file upload has completed. So now I can X out of this button, out of this window, I mean. And then I can see here it says File Uploaded in the Plan Submittal section. So sometimes the system may show the title of your document, and sometimes it may just say File Uploaded. Now I'm going to quickly upload my other file. All right. And this is just an example file. This is not the actual file. Please make sure that you're reading any descriptions here in the attachment section to let you know what you might need to upload here. These are just so that you can see how the system works. All right, and now it tells me my file was uploaded here. So now I can click Save and Continue. All right. And when I click Save and Continue, I come to the Review and Submit screen. You can see we have an attestation here. I will read all of this information, and then once I read all of this information, I'm going to click the I accept button or check mark, and then I can type my first and last name. It is also listed here, and as you can see, my browser remembered it too. All right. Now I am going to submit my application. And once I click submit, the system will take me to the payment or to the my shopping cart. Now you can see this is my shopping cart screen. I can also get to this shopping cart screen by clicking the shopping cart icon in yellow up at the top. And when I come to this shopping cart screen, I have a drop down where I can select what fees I'd like to pay for. In this example, I'm going to select all fees. And you can see that all of the fees are listed here. I'm going to go ahead and select the plan review fee for this plan review that I just submitted and click Continue. When I click Continue, you can see that my total amount has updated. This is the amount that I'm going to be paying. And when I click Continue again, I'm redirected to the payment gateway. Now, you can see this is a test site, obviously, but this is the payment portal. I'm going to review my payment information, my payment and my payment information. And then I'm going to go ahead and enter in my contact information. Oops. All right. As you can see, if a field is optional, it will say optional. And then I will enter in my phone number and my email address. All right. Now I can select a payment method. As you can see, I can pay by checking or savings, credit or debit card, or ATM card. I'm going to select credit or debit for this example. And then I will enter in my card number and the expiration date, as well as the security code. And then I'm just going to validate that my billing address is the same address that I'm using for my contact address above. If I needed to add in a different card billing address, I could just click this button and enter in the address. Now I'm going to click continue. And here I have my payment details. Shows my payment amount, my convenience fee, and the total, as well as the date. And then my payment method information, my billing address information, and my contact information. Now I'm going to click confirm. And when I click confirm, you can see I do have a confirmation number, or I can print out this page for my reference. When I click continue, I'm directed back to the eSLA dashboard. And as you can see, this plan review application, the one that I just paid for, is in the submitted status. As a note, you do need to pay any associated fees for the application before it can be viewed and processed in the back office. So just make sure you're finishing out that process. I will quickly show you what the email for the payment, or I'm sorry, for the email for the building looks like. And the email for the building looks like this. This shows that I have submitted my unique building. Note that I submitted it yesterday. So once I made the submission, an email was generated. It gives me some information here. And then I also received a payment confirmation email for the payment I made today. So both of those emails will be generated and sent to the applicant. All right, now I will go ahead and hand it over to Brandon. I think he had some information he wanted to give about the process that these reviews go through after they're received by the office.
All right. Thank you, Vanna. Once the reviews are submitted, they'll be triaged, which means that we're basically looking through them to make sure that all required portions are there. Believe it or not, we've actually had folks turn in blank documents just to fill the space. So our people are going to look through those to save the plan reviewer's time. Once those have gone through what we call the triage process to make sure everything's there so that they can be reviewed, you'll get an email that will tell you the expected review date for that. Again, we've kind of reshuffled some things within the department, and we're promising that review date should be no more than 6 weeks out. So I believe that was all that we had. John, do we have any questions that have been submitted?
Yes, actually, we have quite a few questions. And I'm going to go back here. I apologize, we were not able to ask questions at the time that they were asked, but there were some questions, and maybe Ivana can help us with this. There are some questions with regards to compatibility as far as you had suggested the browser being Chrome, and there was questions whether or not the new system will be compatible with Mac OS and Safari.
Chrome is the preferred browser for the eSLA customer portal. So I know that you can also download Chrome from a Mac computer. So we do recommend using Chrome, regardless of your operating system.
Okay, let me see here if we've got some additional questions. We have some specific questions that people have asked about their individual accounts. Unfortunately, we won't be able to address all of those at this point, but we will be getting back to those folks that have asked those questions. Can someone speak to the availability, whether or not current DSPS customers are active or when they will actually be able to go ahead and log in and get their accounts together? Brandon or Jason, can you help us with that?
Yep, all things go according to plan. We're looking at an April 12th launch date for this. That will be when you'll be able to first log in and get everything in order. We're expecting legacy information to come over from the prior system, regulated objects. So you should be able to fall in on that if you've done business with the department before.
Someone also asked, if we teach and need to enter CEUs, does this change the process?
It does not yet. I'm going to continue to enter that as they have been. Most of the credentialing and CEUs have not been brought over to eSLA as of yet. That is for the next phase within the next probably 12 to 18 months.
Okay, the next question I have here is, maybe Ivana can help us with this one. Does the download application feature download a blank application or a filled application? What's the purpose of that button?
Yeah, the download application button will allow you to download the information that you've submitted in the application up to a certain point. So you have to get past a certain point in the application in order for it to download anything. I believe you have to get past the affiliations section in order to have information that's available to be downloaded.
There's also a question here. Is the login user to the eSLA system by an individual, or is a single office login possible with multiple registered or stamping individuals, or does every credential holder need a login to eSLA?
Every credential holder will need a login to eSLA. That's how they're going to go about renewing their credentials going forward. Once all those credentials are built into eSLA.
There's been a couple of questions about formatting for some of the answers. What's the correct format for the phone entering in phone numbers? Do we need to enter in dashes, periods, what have you?
You don't need to enter in dashes or periods. You can just enter in the phone number without any dashes. You can add dashes and if you'd like. The system will recognize it.
Getting back to addresses, for an existing location, does it require a site name or will an address work? The question or the person has asked, because site names do change.
Jason, do you want to take that one? The site name will work. Like I said, in the interim, just to have something to put there. These can be altered after the fact, these submissions.
Another question is asking again about addresses. We need to enter the project address twice, is that correct?
Yes.
And the next question I've got here is, any projects that we did in the old system, will the project name or address show up in the eSLA system?
They should,
The
yes.
existing,
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
yeah, the existing projects are in the eSLA system. They'll have a new number assigned to them. So you would have to basically contact us and get the new number if you're trying to follow up on something.
What should be done when an existing site or building has a new name or owner than the past records indicate? And I believe you may have already answered this question, is that those can be changed and updated, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Another question I've got here is, and you may have already answered this one as well, are we required to set up an account for each inspector before the inspector is able to upload his or her inspection reports?
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is a general question or if this is something specific, but the person asked, how do we apply for permission to start?
The permission to start is a question in the application. So if you're requesting that, you simply answer yes to that question and it'll be processed.
Yeah, this is Justin. Permission to start will be a part of the application. When Ivana was going through there was a button there for permission to start.
Thank you. Another question that we have here is, oh, and I apologize, I just lost my place here. Bear with me just a moment. Okay, and the person asked, can the process of filling out an application be paused, the browser closed, and the application be returned to later without having to start over? And I believe the answer to that is definitely yes. It does allow you to save and pick it up at a later time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And can a designer and supervising professional be one and the same, or do they need to be different? And it looks like, Jason, you may have responded, yes, they can. And a lot of times they are the same person and they can be entered as the same person in the affiliations section. Most of the time, the person submitting from our office is not the designer or supervising professional. Is that person's signature acceptable?
If it's on that person's account, that's fine. But the signature for the supervising professional and is going to be required and they'll be able to type in that person's name.
If you're not a registered architect yet, but you have a supervising professional, how do you enter this into the system?
You would indicate that the person who is signing and sealing the plans and is acting as a supervising professional is the designer, and supervising professional as an affiliation. And you'd submit the application that way.
Thank you. Next person here asked, if I have a new hospital building, do I submit on eSLA and send to DHS, or will this submission serve both purposes?
DHS is still its own entity, and they're not utilizing eSLA at this time. However, if there's a portion that is going to get reviewed through DSPS, that portion would have to go through DSPS. If there was like an office building or a doctor's business type building that was next to a hospital, that part is going to be, if it's going to be reviewed by us, then that portion would have to be provided in eSLA.
Once again, another question about asking about starting an application, and if I start an application and do not, quote, review and submit, will the application be saved to allow editing and submitting later?
Yes. It will be saved as long as you're clicking save and continue on the bottom, or you can click the save and finish later, I believe is the name of the button.
Be visible in your dashboard. We saw that in the demo where Amanda started one application and then saved it and then went back to her dashboard and picked up one that she had started and almost completed it earlier and picked that one back up and then just completed it.
The next question I have is with regards to when you're attaching or adding attachments, where did the clicking the folder take you? And if I'm not mistaken, Ivana, in your demo, that basically just took you to where the default location is on your browser?
So yes, and you can navigate, it takes you to an Explorer window, is what's called an Explorer window, so for your computer. And from that window, you can basically browse different locations on your computer, and you just need to find the file on your computer and select it and attach it.
The next question I have here is, can you review all the owner's info required while submitting plumbing? Well, this is, plumbing is a little different, but I think we'll have someone address that question a little bit later. Can you upload more than one file under additional documents? And Jason, I believe your response to that was with the Bluebeam system that we use for review, only one file can be uploaded at this time. We ask that you put all of your drawings into one PDF. Next question I have here is there a specific file naming structure that we should be following?
That's a great question. We don't have a standard naming convention. We're working on that to offer suggestions to make things easier for us. We'll put some type of a preferred naming convention, but there's no actual requirement. But look for that to be forthcoming.
The next question I have here is, do payments have to be made immediately? And I believe Jason's responded to that, indicating that yes, they do. You do have to make a payment at the time for the application to be submitted. Correct, gentlemen?
Correct.
And kind of a follow-up question to that, can the designer still get invoiced for the plan review fees instead of paying online?
Not upon initial submission. If there's some discrepancy after the submission's taken place, if they checked an extra box where they shouldn't have and they ended up paying too much, we'll be able to invoice for the refund. Or on the other hand, if it's underreported and the review ends up costing more than initially thought, we will still review and invoice for the remaining portion, but a payment needs to be made upon submission.
Is there a method by which the building owner, rather than the designer or supervising professional, can make a payment?
Yeah, they'd have to do it through ACH. So if an owner or a contractor is going to give a submitter a check, or normally gives them a check, and that's usually how they do it, have them give you that check so you can do an ACH payment. An ACH payment is an automatic clearinghouse payment. Essentially need your routing number and the numbers in the bottom of the checks.
Then there are two payment questions here. Is the convenience fee mandatory? And a follow-up, someone has asked, so you can no longer send in a company check to pay for the plan review fees. Is that correct?
Yeah, I kind of answered that with the ACH, and the convenience fee is only if you use a credit card or.
Thank you for that. I believe you've answered that question already. And Brandon, you did answer when the submitter will know the actual review date. They find that out. How again do they find that out?
After the submission's gone through, we have our folks take a look at it. We call it a triage process to make sure that everything needed for the review is there before it's moved on to the reviewers. Just saves time. We've had a lot that were missing components that were required to be reviewed. So it's kind of a screening process where we ensure all that is there now before it gets given to a reviewer. Once that has been confirmed, they will receive their date at that time, or their approximate date. Yeah.
Okay, and just to reiterate again for someone who joined us late, yes, this webinar will be and is being recorded, and we will be posting that on the DSPS website. What happens if the submitter cancels the plan review prior to it taking place? How is a refund made for that?
Depends on which stage of the process we're in. If it's not been touched by anybody in the department, it'd be a full refund. If it's gone through triage, or if it's started the review process, we bill by the hour and refund the remaining.
And here's another question with regards to fees. Is there an option to be billed for those fees? And I believe it was answered previously that you do need to pay at the time for the application to be submitted. Is that correct?
Correct.
There's a question about linking the eSLA account to the business/organization. Would we like this linked to the corporate headquarters? Are we looking for a local or regional branch? Can you give some clarification?
I don't think it really matters. I guess it depends on who's submitting it and how you're setting up your submittals. So if for instance you have an office in Chicago, but you have a field office in Milwaukee, whoever's putting in the submittals, and whoever preferably if it's a supervising professional, if not, if you're gonna have somebody else doing it, it should be, and they're working at that field office, whatever the field office should, or the office should be where that person resides, if that makes sense.
And I know we've gone a little bit past time here, but I'm going to try to go through some more of these questions if we can. Are there any limitations on making changes to drawings after submissions?
Once it's in the review process, they would have to work that out with their plan reviewer. If it's prior to the review process, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, can they still submit prior to the review?
We're expecting the plans that come in with the submittal to be the construction documents and not to shuffle plans as they go through the process. If it's a minor change, of course, discuss it with us, but we want complete plans coming in.
How will delayed submissions submitted, such as component shops?
Components will be submitted through your dashboard as a service request. So once the project is approved, it'll show up under your approved projects. There is a drop-down menu on the right-hand side. You select component submittal and you upload the drawings that way.
Can you again explain what happens to the projects that are currently in progress?
So currently, all the plans are in the system currently as of today. That information from a paperwork standpoint is going to get migrated into eSLA. We have to take that week pause to do that data migration, and then those plans that have been put up until the 12th will be the first plans that will be operated. The plan reviewers will be doing the paperwork through eSLA. So all the plans are going to be migrated into eSLA. We will still be utilizing SharePoint for the plans that have been uploaded up to SharePoint. And that's how we plan. That's why we have to take that break to give enough time to do that data migration and put a pause there for 1 week.
Here's a question that goes back to with regards to sign-ins. Person asked, when you sign in, it seems like we use our personal login and then a link to the business. Can multiple people link to the same business?
Yes, they can.
Here's someone that asked, if they're using a check as payment, does the review process start after the check is received?
The review process starts after the triage is done. So the initial triage that Brandon had mentioned before, that is once that there's a 5-day period that plan entry has to go through and make sure everything is up to snuff and allow you to provide anything that might have been missed.
The next question is, why does a social security number show in the review process? It seems like sensitive information that shouldn't need to be verified or displayed during the standard application procedure. And is this info displayed every time?
The full social security number is not a requirement anymore. The reason it was a requirement earlier in releases for eSLA was that a big problem with the old system with regulated objects was that you were able to duplicate data really easily. And it got to the point where one individual might have 10 different accounts because of an extra space being somewhere, an extra initial, something like that. So in an effort to keep that from happening and keep this new system from being kind of polluted with not legitimate data, we tried to rely on some of basically the gold standard of personal identifying information, PII, which is a social security number. There was quite an objection for some of those same reasons, the security of it. Again, this is a state department's website. I mean, the same as Department of Revenue, Department of Transportation. I mean, it's secure, but we understand not wanting to have to divulge that and put it into a system. So we, for personal identification, we just chopped it down to the last 4 of your social security number, and that's all that's required now. And no, none of that information is available to anyone outside of the department.
Can you reiterate again how long the legacy system will be available?
We will have the system will be available for us for a view only, and it'll be around as long as we're required by statute. And I believe it's Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but 3 years for plans as far as the information regarding plans, and all the plans will stay in for that same amount of time into SharePoint.
Yeah, 3 years is our typical period of saving the information.
Thank you. The next question I've got is, how do component designers such as precast, trusses, et cetera, submit plans and specs after general commercial building approval? And I believe, Jason, you answered this. Components submitted after the approval are sent in from your dashboard as a service request.
Yes, that is correct. The designer supervising professional should be reviewing those shop drawings and then submitting them with their indication that the shop drawings met their design.
Is a blank application available for download for collaboration offline?
I do not believe so. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
I guess I don't know what. I guess I'm misunderstanding the meaning of collaboration, but we are not going to be utilizing the SPD 118 any further.
Okay, I'm going to try to go through a couple more here so we can try to end at the bottom of the hour. What if the submittal fee is not matching the fee that we have calculated? How does the system get, or how does the project get into the system to start a review?
What was the question, John? If the submittal fee doesn't match what they calculated?
I believe that's correct. What if the submittal fee is not matching the fee that they have calculated? How does our system, how does the project get into the system to start a review?
Yeah, I guess if you get to the cart and you feel your fees are off and you don't want to pay the fees at that time, you should contact us so we can take a look at it at your project and verify if the fee calculation was correct.
Is the building search looking for a project or site name?
If you're talking about the general search, I believe it's looking for a site name.
Is the previous SharePoint system still active for uploading and reviewing documents?
John, you cut off for about 30 seconds there.
Not a problem. Is the previous SharePoint system still active for uploading and reviewing documents?
Yes, for all plans that were submitted and has a transaction ID assigned to them, you will still use a SharePoint site to upload your plans. New applications after the 12th will be using eSLA for uploading plans.
After a drawing has been submitted, is there a limitation on the size of changes to that drawing or the date that the changes are made prior to the review date? And I believe, Jason, you may have answered this question. Plans are submitted for review are expected to be final construction drawings. Major changes can be submitted as revisions after approval.
That is correct.
Okay, a site has 8 identical buildings on the same site. Can it be done with one application? And I believe, Jason, you've answered that question online here. Yes, identical buildings can be submitted in one application. I think at this point we have reached most of the questions that we've been able to get through here. They are still coming through, and we will do our best to get back to folks with those. I believe we are also going to take some of the questions and add to some of the FAQs that we have online so that some of those general questions can be addressed. The one thing I wanted to point out is one of the last slides we've got here is resources and where you can get help. Please check out the public DSPS eSLA webpage. The address is on the screen here. For more information, you can actually get there also from our homepage, dsps.wi.gov, and look for the messages and information about eSLA. It'll take you to some of that information, such as how to set up a first-time account or claim account information from the old system. It also provides step-by-step instructions as well as a video on how to do that. How to add a business to your account once you've got the account set up. And again, like I mentioned, the frequently asked questions. If you're having technical questions, you can contact our technical support folks. There's a phone number on the screen there, 608-266-2112, or email eSLAsupport@wisconsin.gov. And I believe at this time we'll be ending our webinar. Thank you all for attending. Brandon or Ivana, was there anything further that you wish to add?
No, I had nothing further other than to thank everyone for their time today.
I agree. Thank everyone for attending.
And once again, I apologize for going long, but I thought it was important to try to get to as many of the questions as we could here today. Again, the recording and some additional information will be posted on our website very shortly. Thank you all for attending, and have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.